Listen to our theory of the latest fad, and we hope our story won't be sad. So, if you want to mambo, feel the Cuban beat. Just let the rhythm guide you with your feet. It doesn't take the know-how it takes to build a nest. Just sway along and we'll supply the rest. You need no education to dance this new sensation. Just wait till it's temptation the moment you hear the beat. So if and when you ever feel along these lines, just come and dance the mambo all the times. Mambo de pino, mambo de pino, ay, baila conmigo. Mambo de pino, ese mambo de pino, mambo de pino, ay, qué bueno mi mambo, mambo de pino. Just sway along and we'll supply the rest. You need no education to dance this new sensation. Just wait till it's temptation the moment you hear the beat. So if and when you ever feel along these lines, just come and dance the mambo all the times. Mambo all the times. Mambo all the times. Mambo all the times.
Y bienvenido a su show Caribe Latino aquí en la original FM 89.9 en Nueva York. Saludos a todos. Aquí estamos otra edición de Caribe Latino en la original FM 89.9 en Nueva York. Le habla su servidor Germán Santana with you this evening, and joining me Mr. Luis Laffitte.
Germán, always great to be here at Caribe Latino, El Original FM, the home of Latin music.
Most definitely, especially we started there with Mambo of the Times, and bueno, we have a very special tribute to Nick Jiménez on this evening, and for that reason, tenemos la casa llena.
Yes, we do. And Germán, that was Mambo of the Times, as you said, from 1955, Rainbow Records, and that was Joe Cuba and his Cha-Cha Boys. And on the lead vocals, Willie Torres, and on the coro, of course, Santos Colón and Mon Rivera. And that was pretty much, for all intents and purposes, the beginning of Salsa in English. And without further ado, I bring my friend, Mr. Ed Garcia, to the microphones.
Well, thank you. I'm going to begin with Nick Jimenez's bio. It's quite extensive. Nicolas Jimenez was born June 15, 1929, in Santurce, Puerto Rico. His parents were Nicolas Jimenez Sr. and Carmen Olmeda, from Fajardo and Sidra, respectively. He was the eldest of 5 kids. In 1930, the family moved to Spanish Harlem, New York. At age 12, Nick played bugle in a neighborhood drum corps, and childhood friends would include percussionist Willie Bobo and pianist Gil Lopez. In 1944, Nick graduated from Patrick Henry Junior High School, and future singer Willie Torres was his classmate. Now, at age 14, he taught himself to play piano. Then later on, at 17, Nick studied under Luis Varona, who was Tito Puente's pianist. and incidentally at the time, Charlie Palmieri was a classmate. Between the ages of 18 through 21, Nick was a street performer picking up gigs here and there. And then in 1951, he served in the U.S. Army, stationed in Japan during the Korean War conflict. He was not engaged in combat action. However, he did write his first song titled Nunca, which was the original version of To Be With You. In October of 1952, he was honorably discharged and quickly formed his Nick Jiménez Quintet, which was sometimes billed as Nick and his Cha-Cha Boys. And once again, Willie Torres was his singer. Now, in late 1953, he was recruited to join the Joe Cuba Sextet. A year later, promoter Catalino Rolón renamed the group as the Joe Cuba Sextet. So from 1953 until 1971, when Nick retired from the sextet, he was basically their main arranger and supplied many songs. And he was also their music director. In 1955, Nick married Irene Manhattan in a marriage that lasted 52 years until her passing in 2007. The union produced 2 children, a girl, April, and a boy, Nick Jr. And curiously enough, his wife's cousin is pianist-arranger Paquito Pastor. The Jimenez family lived in Spanish Harlem and then later in the Bronx up till about 1971, when they decided to relocate to Puerto Rico. Now, we'll pick up more on Nick's life and career in the next segment, but first, El Man, let's hear some music.
Let's check it out. You are listening to the Nick Jiménez tribute right here on WKCR 89.9 FM in New York. Su show, Caribe Latino.
¿Quieres volver? Estás llena de pasión. ¿Qué te pasó? Tu nuevo amor ya se cansó. A lo mejor te engañó con palabras de amor. Y al ver la realidad, con hambre te dejo ir. Vuelve hacia mí. Si yo te doy el calor, tu dulce está aquí. Nunca ha perdido su sabor. Si eres de mí, lo sé. Si te conozco, corazón, y la vida te doy. Y también mi calor, porque el amor es así. Y te doy la razón. Y al ver la realidad, con hambre te dejo ir. Vuelve hacia mí. Si yo te doy el calor, tu dulce está aquí. Nunca ha perdido su sabor. Si eres de mí, conozco, corazón, y la vida te doy. Y también mi sabor, porque el amor es así, y te doy la razón. Ah, da, 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 di, da. La da da di, da. La da 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 di, da. La da da di, da. Di, da, di, da, di, da. ¿Quieres volver?
El domingo al amanecer yo invité a Juana para comer. Le eché un asado y un pastel, pero la jeva salió ser Lucifer. Le ofrecí un poquito de ensalada, arroz con gandules también. Ya los nervios se me alborotaban cuando mi carne quiso comer. Con el hueso partido, dame la carne a mí. Ay, pero qué confianza la tuya, muchacha, si yo solo te invité a comer. Con el hueso partido, dame la carne a mí. Yo pensaba que era vegetariana y me salió una tremenda piraña. Con el hueso partido, dame la carne. Ay, no, Juana, no es tema de discusión, esa jeva come más que un león. Con el hueso partido, dame la carne a mí. Hablemos de esto, Juana. Ay, coge hueso pa' ti. Tú no ves que yo te hablo en serio. Ay, no te vuelvo a invitar, dame la carne a mí. Pa' no hablar más, dejemos la cosa ahí. Oye, tú no ves que y te repito, oye, Juana, esto se acabó. Chao.
En tu vida no has de decir que contigo yo falso fui. No, no puedes negar que fuiste y serás mi único amor. Y tú bien sabes que yo jamás pensar podría de otra, pues ya yo no puedo romper este vicio bendito de ti. No vas a pensar que puedo seguir si no estás tú en mi vivir. No, 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 no puedes creer que puedo yo amar si no es a ti. Será hasta el fin, inalterable, quedas tú en mí. No más nunca podré ceder mi querer a otra mujer. Mi vida la entrego yo a ti. No vas a pensar que puedo yo amar si no es a ti en mi vivir. No puedes creer que puedo seguir si no estás tú. Incomparable será hasta el fin, inalterable, quedas tú en mí. No más nunca podré ceder mi querer a otra mujer. Mi vida la entrego yo a ti. Solo a ti.
WKCR 89.9 FM in New York, Caribe Latino, rindiendo el homenaje a Nick Jiménez, the Songbook, a celebration of his songs. Louis Laffitte, Edwin Garcia, myself, Germán Santana, with you this evening, taking you on this journey. And Louis, what did we just hear?
Well, from the top, Germán, we heard Quieres Volver from the recording A New Dimension by Willie Bobo, who was on vocals and a childhood friend of Nick Jiménez, and 1968. And on that recording, you have John Dandy Rodriguez Jr., Johnny Rodriguez Jr. on the bongos and cowbell, and Victor Pantoja on congas, who was part of Nick Jiménez's and Joe Panama quintet, and Sonny Henry on guitar as well. Followed by El Hueso from the recording Gracias Joe Cuba. We heard the group was Nils Fischer and Timbaso, and that's he is a German percussionist based in the Netherlands, and that was from the year 2007. And then we ended the set with that beautiful bolero Incomparable, that's from the recording Estamos Haciendo Algo Bien, 1965, Joe Cuba Sextet, and of course the late Cheo Feliciano on the vocal and Nick Jiménez on the piano.
Yes, Louis, I wanted to say about that last track that, throughout his recording career, especially with the Joe Cuba Sextet, because of the shortness of the tracks, there was usually an unwritten rule that you wouldn't have a track longer than 3 minutes, and as a result, Nick really didn't have much opportunities to solo on his songs. Well, on this particular track, he didn't really solo, but if you heard carefully, he does what is called piano arpeggios. Now, I don't want to get too technical, but usually when you play a chord on a piano, especially in salsa music, you'll play maybe 2 or 3 notes at the same time as a block. An arpeggio basically is that you're breaking it up. Think of a water ripple going through, and I just think that very simple technique of playing the piano arpeggios really added so much intensity to the passion of this song, and I think it really comes out. Well, before we get back to Nick Jimenez's bio, Elman, I think you wanted to make a very quick introduction.
Yes, I want to acknowledge that we have Nick Jimenez's daughter, April Jimenez, with us in the studio, which for me personally makes this an even more important, more emotive tribute. I can see it in your eyes. how much you miss him, and I hope you understand we're doing this because of the history, the love that we have for his art and what he's done for all of us, how he's contributed to this wonderful culture. And as we said before, when it happened, you know, our thoughts and prayers continue to be with you.
Thank you.
In the spirit of the Max Salazar Latin Musician Show and Louis Balso's sidemen of the Palladium, you know, we try to honor the sidemen who often go overlooked, April, and acknowledge their importance. And no one does it alone, so it's not always about the band leader and the singer, but it's also about the sidemen and the arrangers. So we do miss him. Okay.
Okay, on that note, we're going to continue with Nick Jimenez's bio. We left off with Nick relocating to Puerto Rico in the 1970s, where he played piano for bands such as Johnny El Bravo, Ray Santiago, Joe Quijano, Roberto Ruena, Lito Peña, and Tommy Olivencia. Now, as an arranger, he supplied arrangements for these groups as well as for Joe Quijano. He also arranged Jimmy Sabater's debut solo album, which was titled Solo, from 1969. And in 1972, Nick co-arranged, along with Bobby Valentin, Cheo Feliciano's first solo album, which was called Cheo. Now, Nick performed on two successful 1970s singles with the orchestras of Carlos Picart and Johnny El Bravo. And in 1975, Nick formed a short-lived group called Nick Jiménez y los Biónicos. Now, we'll explore more of Nick's bio in the next segment. And once again, El Man, let's hear some music.
Los golpes del cuero y del guaguancó.
triste es vivir llorando sin reír por un amor que tarda en venir, aquella que tanto soñé. Qué triste no tener a quien poder querer. Ansioso estoy con desesperación para entregar mi corazón con toda mi pasión. No es justo yo llorar por falta de amar. Ven y sálvame de este salvaje sufrimiento. Ahogado estoy con tanto amor y lleno de ternura. No tardes más, pues triste estoy sin ti. Triste estoy sin ti. Triste estoy sin ti. Sin ti.
Ven a más. Ariana, na, 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 na. Sacude. Ya que la gente tiene ganas de gozar y me invitaron a formar un vacilón, yo vengo a buscarte pa' que puedas guarachar. No seas bobo y aprovecha este rumbón, que mira que todos los días no se forma este bembé, y hoy es derroche y alegría la ocasión. Si es que la rumba te está picando los pies, no te me quedes pisado y vamos a gozarla otra vez. Ponte a guarachar y a bailar bembé. Ponte a guarachar y a bailar bembé. Traigo un saoco sabrosito pa' que lo vacile usted. Ponte a guarachar y a bailar. Ponle oído rumberito a lo que dice este negrito. Traigo guarachi, traigo bembé. Ponte a guarachar y a bailar bembé. Lo vacilan en Caracas y en Nueva York, ya lo sé. Ponte a guarachar y a bailar. Guaracha, 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 guaracha. Guaracha, caballero y más bembé. Óyeme. Oye, pero qué bueno está eso. Échale. Échale, 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 échale. Ahora. Ponte a guarachar y a bailar bembé. Caballero, ahora traigo un bembé. Y a bailar pa' que lo goce la gente en Venezuela le daré. Y a bailar salsa y sabor. Guarachi también bembé. Y a bailar como lo dijo Cortijo, alegría bombaé. Y a bailar lo baila en la Pastora y lo goza San José. Y a bailar pero qué rico y sabrosito baila usted, negrita. Cuando la veo gozando al mover su cinturita. Y a bailar bembé. Guaracha, guaracha, guaracha pa'l 23. Y a bailar bembé. Ponte a guarachar y a bailar bembé. Si es que la rumba te está picando los pies, no te me quedes pisado y vamos a gozarla otra vez.
WKCR 89.9 FM, su show Caribe Latino, rindiéndole homenaje a Nick Jiménez as we play from the Nick Jiménez Songbook, a celebration of his songs Luis, ¿qué acabamos de escuchar?
Well, at the top of the set, we heard Bochin Chosa from the Santiago All-Stars, vocals Jimmy Sabater, and on the piano, Ricky Gonzalez. And Santiago All-Stars are from Chile, Santiago de Chile. And then the second track we heard was Triste from the Wanted Dead or Alive album, 1966, Joe Cuba Sextet. Of course, the vocals of Willie Torres and composition and arrangement by Nick Jiménez. Triste. Damn, it's just so short, that tune. I love that tune, really. A beautiful bolero. And then we ended the set with Guaracha y Bembe from the A las Seis Es la Cita. We heard Alfredo Naranjo y El Guajeo. And on the vocals, Orlando Watusi. I remember Orlando Watusi. And Edgar Quijada. And that track was co-written by Nick, Tommy Berrios, Joe Cuba, and Cheo Feliciano. And Guaracha y Bembe. Ed.
Okay, concluding with Nick's bio, in the 1980s he participated in 2 Joe Cuba Sextet reunion concerts. The first in 1984 at the Roberto Clemente Coliseum in Puerto Rico, and the second one in 1986 at Madison Square Garden, here of course in New York. In 1985, Jimenez decided to go to school, and he earned a Bachelor of Arts degree in music from the Puerto Rico Conservatory of Music, and as a result began a new career as a music teacher, where he taught in 2 elementary schools in Cataño, Puerto Rico. At the time, he also decided to try to learn how to play the cello, of all things, and he also continued to perform at the occasional gig. Now, in 1997, Nick relocated to Florida and was on call as a general-purpose substitute teacher. After about 2 years of that, he decided to give up the substitute teacher job, but continued giving private piano lessons until 2013. Now, of course, many know that Nick passed away last month on May 11th, and in 2 days, on June 15th, he would have been 87 years old. But rather than mourn his loss, tonight we celebrate his music legacy. Nick's legacy was important on several levels. In his lifetime, Jimenez wrote approximately 182 songs, 38 of which he contributed to the Joe Cuba Sextet. Through his songs and arrangements, he was the chief architect of the sound for the Joe Cuba Sextet. And incidentally, he was also one of the architects of the New York City Mambo sound during the 1950s. As if that weren't enough, he was a pioneer of 2 distinct Latin music genres. With his song Mambo of the Times, which we heard at the top of the hour, he helped launch what we would call the salsa in English movement. And with the tune To Be With You, which was co-written with Willie Torres, he helped launch the Latin soul movement. Now, we're going to get back to some music, but before we do, Louis, it occurs to me you have such a vast library of music, and I'm so jealous of all the LPs and CDs that you have. I'm sure that somewhere in that deep vault, you probably have a recording of El Raton somewhere around. El Raton was, of course, recorded by the Joe Cuba Sextet in 1964 with Cheo Feliciano on lead vocals, of course. You must have, because I know you're a big Santana fan, a recording of the Fania All-Stars, where Cheo also sings with them, and they're joined by the electric guitar of Jorge Santana. This song was actually quite a show-stopping number. They would always turn the lights down low, and it was a very dramatic set piece. Well, anyway, I'm sure that if you look at your album covers, and you look at the back, and you look at the names of who are the songwriters on this song, you're going to see Cheo Feliciano.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we have a live track from that 1984 concert that I spoke about, the reunion concert, in which you're going to hear Cheo Feliciano introduce the song, and he's going to tell you who actually wrote that song. El Man?
Check it out, right here on WKCR 89.9 FM in New York.
That's why I like...
Familia, este tema yo lo compusimos el compadre Nick Jiménez y yo hace como 857 años. Pero gracias a ustedes continúa siendo un favorito. Eso gracias a ustedes. No se olviden que nos vamos a ver en el Coliseo Roberto Clemente el sábado Juntos hoy como ayer, familia, ¿ok? No oigo esas manos, que se oigan. Mi gato se está quejando que no puede vacilar. Si donde quiera que se mete, donde quiera que se cuela, su gata lo va a buscar. De noche brinca la verja, oye Lele, que está behind de mi house. A ver si puede jugarse sin que ella lo pueda ver. Y no tan pronto, que no tan pronto está de fiesta silvestre felino, mira, y es que voy a correr. Esto sí es serio, mi amigo, oye que lío, pero qué lío se va a formar cuando mi gatito sepa. Y es tan simple la razón, que el que a su gata le cuenta, que el que a su gata le dice, no es nada más que un ratón, un ratón. Ustedes saben el coro, pues dice así, ¡ja!
De cualquier malla
Se oiga,
sale un ratón, oye, de
que
cualquier
todo sabe,
malla,
que todo lo dice, que todo lo cuenta, que todo lo habla el ratón.
de cualquier malla
Sí, sí, sí.
sale un ratón, oye,
Ave
de
María, que
cualquier
noche más
malla,
caliente, mira, Eddie, cómo canta mi gente.
de cualquier malla
Sí, sí, sí.
sale un ratón, oye, de
En mi
cualquier
casa
malla,
ya no hay queso, si se lo comió el ratón.
de cualquier malla,
Que todo lo sabe, que todo lo dice, que todo lo cuenta, que todo lo habla, que como habla ese ratón.
de cualquier malla,
Cha, cha, cha.
sale un ratón, oye,
Y
de
tú
cualquier
conmigo,
malla,
yo contigo, vamos a entrar en el vacilón. ¡Epa! Familia, al piano, el compadre Nick Jiménez. Habla Nicky, habla ese piano. Habla Nicky, habla. Sí, ¿cómo? Échale.
échale semilla a la maraca pa' que suene, cha, cha, chucu, cha, cha, hey, échale semilla a la maraca pa' que suene, cha, cha, chucu, cha,
Échale
hey,
semilla ahora, familia, que este rato me está hablando. Y hace rato que me dice, familia, échale semilla ahora. Échale, lo verá.
échale semilla a la maraca pa' que suene, cha, cha, chucu, cha, cha, hey, échale semilla a la maraca pa' que suene, cha, cha, chucu, cha, cha,
Merengue, chacu, chacu, chucu, chacu, cha.
cha, cha, chucu, cha, cha,
Es que lo dicen por aquí, lo repiten por allá. Que esta noche, caballero, en el canal todo el mundo quiere gozar. Sábado juntos hoy como ayer en el coliseo. Por allá y por allá, baila si quiere gozar. A cuchi, 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 cha, cha, cha. A quien no le gusta esto, siente dulce para gozar.
WKCR 89.9 FM in New York. A tribute to Nick Jiménez this evening. Louis, ¿qué acabamos de escuchar?
Well, we just heard Safari, but actually before that, we started the set with El Raton, 1984 live reunion concert in Puerto Rico, and that was courtesy of Ed Garcia's collection. And I remember that vividly, seeing that on TV, and that was really great. I tell you, it was practically the whole Joe Cuba Sextet minus the bass player. But anyway, originally that comes from the 1964 Vagabundeando, Hanging Out, Joe Cuba Sextet, and of course we had Nick on piano, Jimmy Sabater on timbales, Joe Cuba on congas, Tommy Berrios on vibes, and Bobby Rodriguez on bass, vocals, Cheo Feliciano. And then we just ended up the set with Safari, an instrumental from Tito Puente's El Rey, 1968, and that was Tito and his orchestra. And Tito Puente showed respect by using Nick Jimenez's arrangement on that big band Latin jazz track. Now, Ed, you've done a lot of research on this project. I know that you've worked quite hard on this, researching Nick Jimenez's life and career. Why wasn't Nicky better known?
Well, actually, that's a complicated question with several answers. First of all, Nick left the sextet, as I said before, in 1971, and he moved to Puerto Rico. And even though Puerto Rico was very active musically, it was not the media capital of the world like New York was and still is. In Puerto Rico, he worked with a number of bands and appeared on a handful of recordings, but however, you could say that he didn't record much. And of course, later on, he became a music teacher, so in a sense, he faded slowly from public view. Second, he wasn't a singer. He was a pianist playing in the background. And then, thirdly, I would say that along with Willie Torres and vibe player Tommy Berrios, Nick was pretty much overshadowed by his more visible peers in the sextet. Take Cheo Feliciano. Cheo, of course, was able to beat his drug habit, thankfully, and have a second career, becoming a superstar with Fania Records. Jimmy Sabater, of course, also had a second career with those wonderful albums he did with Son Boricua late in his life. And then, of course, there is the problem of Gilberto Calderón, the man that the world called Joe Cuba. Originally, the stage name of Joe Cuba belonged to the group and not just one person. As I said previously, in 1954, promoter Catalino Rolón renamed the Joe Panama Sextet to the Joe Cuba Sextet. And after interviewing both Nick and Willie Torres, I was informed that about a year after the group was formed, Gilberto decided to take the name for himself, and he also started to dress differently than the others. Now, don't get me wrong, Gilberto was an important part of the sextet. He dealt with the business aspect, and of course you need someone like that in every group. He was the contractor for the sextet, and as a result, since he was the contact person, he was able, in my opinion, to control the image of the sextet in interviews, on album covers, and in concert posters. My observation is that Gilberto was very successful over several decades in promoting his face and his image. And as a result, unfortunately, the public gravitates towards him and thinks that he is the main reason for the music of the sextet. But that is not the case. I mean, if you really analyze the situation, Gilberto did not write arrangements or sing on the recordings. His manner of playing conga was very basic. He could not read music, and there are some questions about some of the songs which he said he wrote. In my opinion, the sextet actually ended around more or less 1972, 1973, when most of the original members began to leave. In fact, the last album to include the name Joe Cuba Sextet, those three words, was released in 1973, the Hecho y Derecho album. Now, once again, because of his drug habit in 1966, Cheo was fired from the group, so he was no longer part of the sextet. Tommy Berrios left in 1967 for health reasons. Willie Torres retired in 1970, and as I said before, Nick retired in 1971. Now, Jimmy Sabater and the bass player Jules Cordero stayed on a little bit more, but not much more. Gilberto tried to carry on. He worked a little and recorded, but was not able to recapture the prior magic nor appear on the national Billboard charts as before. After 1973, fans will know that Gilberto released 3 albums, Cocinando la Salsa, El Pirata, and Stepping Out Again. Now, I don't consider those albums really part of the proper Joe Cuba Sextet discography since, of course, the majority of the original members were no longer around. As far as I'm concerned, any group formed after 1973 or so was simply a nostalgia band playing the music of the former members, including the much overlooked Nick Jiménez. April, I was wondering if maybe you'd like to comment. How do you feel about Nick's image, and do you agree with some of the statements that I've just made?
I do agree with some of them. After 73, the musicians that Sonny tried to bring into the group to emulate, they all used Dad's arrangements. The songs that they sang were from the sextet heyday. So yeah, basically I agree with a lot of the statements you just said.
Okay. Well, we've done a lot of talking, so let's go back to some music. So, Armand, if you would.
Check it out. You're listening to Caribe Latino right here on WKCR 89.9 FM and WKCR HD1. This is our tribute to Nick Jiménez, a celebration of his songs.